So, good evening, dear participants, dear guests, dear fellow human beings. Thank you for making your way up here. See, no interference now, very good. So, I know it's a tough question, but I would really love if all of you could come a little bit closer together here in the middle, because, you know, we're all cozy here on our couches, and it would be great if we have this atmosphere in the room, because this is an opening talk. This is with all of us, with our great guests, but also with you. So we hope also that later, when we have some time, so we can open the plenary for some questions from you. And we're going to talk especially as an introduction to the fair around volunteering, why it's important. And I'll just quickly then introduce the four marvelous guests that we have. We have Francesca Kulek from the STURA, Studierendenrat, Students' Council of this university. We have Rainer Braun of the International Peace Bureau, the co-president. We have Caroline Lehmann of the ISWI. And we have Fabian de Blanc from Amnesty International. Let's just start. Francesca, would you start just introducing yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Francesca. I study computer science here at the university. And I'm part of the student council. I'm a representative at the Department for Political Affairs in university stuff. So, that's what I'm doing. A lot of politics.
Yeah, my name is Rainer Braun. Good evening. I'm one of the two presidents of the International Peace Bureau, which is the biggest and eldest worldwide peace network, founded in 1891 and have now more than 350 member organizations all over the world. I'm trained in history, German literature, and journalism, and I think I can say I'm a peace activist since 1981. Before, I was also a student activist. I was the chair of in West Germany, what was called iSTUFF, Allgemeiner Studentenausschuss, at the University of Dortmund.
Hello, my name is Caroline, and I am here somehow to represent the ISWI and all the other student conferences there that are also in our network, the Source network. And but I was picked, I think, because I'm long-term activist in ISWI. And so I have a lot of experience in this conference organizing field, but I'm also active in the Refugees Network that is hosted by ISWI, and I am, in former times I was also in the Students' Council and in the We4U network, which is helping international students, so all the things related somehow to internationals.
So, I'm Fabian from Amnesty International. So, I represent the local group of Amnesty. What is Amnesty? Amnesty is a human rights organization, one of the biggest, you can say. And we are the core of our work is to help people in danger. And we do a lot of research worldwide to get some cases, and we will help them by writing letters to responsibles. So that's also the thing which, with which I was starting my work in Amnesty. So I started in 2008 and writing letters, and now I'm here in the local group of Amnesty.
And my name is Benjamin Hempel, short Benny. Still in ISWI, as you can see, with a red shirt. Excuses, please. Very excited to be here, obviously. Come on in, please. We have spare seats in the front row. And also part of STURA when I was still studying here. And I'm going to be your host for tonight. And we're going to start with one question, an open question. Around, from your perspective, why is it important to volunteer. And having in mind our audience, especially for international and students, who would like to first tackle that question, please?
Okay, then I start. When I started to engage myself, the motivation was that I saw that there are things not going right here at the university, that the ways to study are not like as I wanted them. And I thought, so it's very easy to say everything is bad, but you have to do something about it. And was thinking the generations of students coming after me, they should not face these problems. So I started to go to the student council of the faculties, and then came to the student council for the whole student body. And yeah, to make a change was my motivation.
My motivation was, I think, the privilege I have. So I see, when I see what happens in the world, I see also how privileged I am. And so I think there's kind of an obligation to do something. So yeah, obligation, things like, sounds like it's a duty, but it's also it's a motivation to do, and to do something which others cannot do. So, and that's what I like about Amnesty. The principle is that you don't work for your own country, you work for other countries, because as a human rights defender, you can easily get in dangerous situation if you work in your own country for topics of that country. You can go into prison or something, and so that's the basic principle, and that's what I like. And so Amnesty is like collecting different movements or bringing them together. So we have different groups of the society, and everyone commits for human rights, and that's what I like. Yeah.
I would certainly agree with that. And concerning my activism, I always see it as doing a small thing to change something. If many of us do just small things, we can together, combined, we can reach something big. And this is the big aim I also have in this activism and in organizing these conferences. It's just about making people meeting each other, establishing personal contacts, personal exchange, and that way to prevent of any prejudice and to make it less or not so easy to be misinformed by just any official media or something, because if you already met people from another country, then you have a more personal contact and you can ask them when you hear something. And this is something important for me.
When I was 13 or 14, I asked my parents what you have done between 1933 and 1945. And I got no answer. Then I found a book from my father's time in the German fascist army, and in the book was a stamp, Kiev 1944. This was the year and the time when the Yiddish ghetto in Kiev was closed, and the Yiddish people were brought to Theresienstadt and Auschwitz. And because I got no answer, like all of you, I think, I started my own research. I was looking what happened. Then I found the fascist period, which at that time, at my school time, was not mentioned at school. Geschichte, history, closed at 1912. And I found out what's happened in the time, in the fascist period, and what's happened during the Second World War. And the sentence after the war, never again, nie wieder Krieg, never war again, was a very important sentence for my life, which makes me, as a young people, to an anti-war activist. Then I saw the bombs over Vietnam, killing thousands, hundreds, thousands of women, children, by napalm and other kinds of bombs. And this gave me the power to continue working for peace in my student period and afterwards. I was engaged in the war, in the actions against the new nuclear weapons in Europe in the 80s, where millions of people in our country had fear that really a nuclear war could start. And we were successful at the end. These nuclear weapons were banned from the planet up to now. This is the only nuclear weapons agreement which really banned nuclear weapons. And today, you know, when I'm seeing all these wars, all these engagement of the Germany in the wars, I think it is worthwhile to act and to convince people to act with me, to be a part of the peace movement. And that is a motivation for me, that is a help. Sometimes it's also depressive when you see how small are your successes, but it's a deep, deep motivation which I love to continue doing, and I think it helps a little bit to make the world a little bit better with all the others which are doing quite the same in other fields, and together, and I think we will come back, together I think we have the chance that this world can survive.
So what I find incredibly fascinating is about, so we have the overlap also between the organizations you work for, but also the different, but then also similar motivations to start small things that make a big effect in the long run, campaigning for it, also the motivations for, you know, achieving peace, achieving justice. From your point of view, and what would be a great start for someone who's living anywhere in the world, a young person, to get really engaged, to really work towards one of for example, one of the causes that you and that we have as the motto, global justice, or what would be your advice for them in general? How could they get engaged? What would be a good way of volunteering and starting your life as a volunteer?
I think the first thing that you should do is just do a little research about what kind of organizations or projects are in your region. If you don't want to start one from your own, if you want to start a new one, then you should make up your mind and find others who would support your idea. But if you have some idea, it's always good to search for people who are doing the same or who are the same, have the same mind.
I would agree to that, and maybe you have a topic where you just where you are very passionate about, and then you should search something which fits to it. And so for me, I have a lot of interests, and so I'm in different groups, but also it's important to set some priorities, just to see what is the topic you're most interested. And there are also always some online campaigns, and you know this talk about point and click engagement or commitment. So I would like to know, who of you already signed an online petition or something like that? And and who of you really did something afterwards concerning that topics, maybe? partly, or yeah. So yeah, actually, I think it could be an incentive to do something, but usually, yeah, it doesn't help that much if it stucks there in the online petitions or something. So I think you have to search a group and some mates where you can organize yourself. Yeah, that's what I think.
And I wanted to add that what also is important, what I found out in my work, is a network. People you can always ask for some help. Like when I have some problems, I just cross the hall, go to the ISWI, because there are all the people who know a lot of stuff, so I can ask them. But I have also a big network all over Germany. And this really helps because your problems maybe are not just local problems. There are other people who have the same problems or might have the same problems, and it's always easier to find a solution together with a lot of people.
You know, I think the word advice is the wrong word. I think everyone has to find its own way to action. You know, someone is deeply disappointed when he looks at the news and is crying when he has to listen to some of this news. This is the reason he can become active. Another one is looking to his books, reading, making research. Third one is discussing with his colleagues and friends. Fourth is seeing his surroundings, the destroyment of the environment. Maybe the new military bases in his surrounding, or the poorness where he's living, avoids going for vacation and become active against hunger and poverty. So the reasons, the motivation, the ways to be active is very different. And that's great. That is what we should prevent and should be enlarged, because we are so individual, different. But we are also a community, and the difference and the community to bring together. I think this is the main point of activism and action. And when we are doing this much stronger than in the past, I think we will be also a little bit more successful than in the past.
So what I wanted to add also, I think it's also very helpful to keep eyes open, just to see what's going on and ask what is behind, or if you see something, just ask. And I think if you keep your eyes open, you will just see, and some questions will raise. And this is the starting point, I think. So you just ask yourself, why are we jetting around the world? But on the other hand, the climate is, completely messed up. So if this is just an example, and there you could start the commitment from there. Yeah, I think.
One second. So I found you mentioned around the point and click and how to make things a reality, and I think it's a very, very valid question that you can also see in how much people like then to volunteer their own time, resources like crowdfunding or similar does have a lot less support than just clicking and signing something. Do you have, for example, we do work with Amnesty, or any of you from your work so far, that you have something, and sorry about that I use the term again, but an advice or something, what you used successfully maybe already to make something that's a virtual project to reality. Is there something, an example you would like to share?
Maybe I start with a university example. I think, you know, the civil clauses against military research is a big success for the university when you can get it and when you can keep it as reality. So that is, for me, a very practical, successful stop. Yeah, and you know, another is when more people can protest against all these unsustainable development of trade and economy. And for me, the TTIP demonstrations last year were one of the biggest success of our society, show that there is a huge protest against wrong developments. So what is success? Success is, for me, has many different levels. Success is when a lot of people are coming together and don't want something, and maybe want something other, better. Success is, a small success is when I got a better seminar, a new seminar to a topic of sustainable development, which the professor never wanted to do, and we get it. Or we get the civil clause. So let's see what is small and big successes. And in the international politics, I think it is even more difficult. I'm always saying that for me the biggest success would be when we would get in the next half a year a ceasefire in Syria, stopping this horrible war there. So this would be a huge success. I think it is not very much realistic, but we should do a little bit more for that we are maybe successful at the end.
What we as student unions in Germany had as success was that in the past we successfully fighted tuition fees. The last were about like 3 or 5 years ago in Bavaria with a huge protest against these fees. And now we have again protests against tuition fees in Baden-Württemberg, and I'm very optimistic that these fees will also again will be successfully gotten away from student power. So this is for me one of the big successes.
For me, every single case is a success because the single cases are important. So every person, every prisoner of conscience who is released is a success. Even, I think the number is not important. It's about every single step we make, a tiny little step. It's a success. We're doing something because we're doing something for good, not because we want to have success. So, and that's the engine. Yeah.
Yeah, if you think of ISWI as a virtual project in the beginning, then every student week that we ever organize and every project is like a success in the end. And it's always a very nice feeling as soon as the people arrive here and you see it really works. There are students from all over the world coming together and meeting each other, exchange, have some fun, and just make these personal relationships between each other, and to have like this global village. You have people from all over the world coming together at one place, and you see that it's possible to have such a world. So that's why I think we continue with that. And since 1993, where the first ISWI took place, every 2 years it was somehow possible, although nobody thought at the beginning. And at every big project that we have, like building a huge labyrinth or something like this, and or organizing that fair today, you can't imagine how much work that was and how often people met very long. But in the end, it's worth all the efforts. And I really like every ISWI that is taking place.
Definitely resonates with the people in the audience. So one question is, so we talked about what motivates you, different reasons, ways of doing it, examples, successes. From a very, you're from different organizations, some of them international, some of them more on a local, active on a local level. What would be ways that you would say people should get engaged with your organization? Like, what's the volunteers that you are looking for, and what could they do with you? You know, something. If I'd say, okay, I want to do something, I have some free time, that's why I'm at ISWI at the moment, but what could I do next? What would be something to get active and volunteer for your organization?
This is a question, you know, for the lottery, but I really would take it very serious. You know, I think the first point for me is to be engaged in the International Peace Bureau is to be engaged with so many colleagues and friends from many countries fighting together for peace, building communities, groups, organizations in the different countries, being connected and say we want to overcome war. And the second point is we want to overcome that this world is spending $1.7 trillion for military purposes and do not know how to pay for the sustainable development goals, how to pay for the climate aims and the climate changes, don't want how to overcome poverty and hunger. So we need the reduction of the military spending for the surviving of the world. This is a reason for many to be engaged in different countries. A specific engagement is possible in IPB. We have in IPB an own IPB youth group, which is an international group from young people from 16 countries, which are preparing for next year an IPB World Youth Conference, like the IPB World Conference last year. And this is a possibility to be a part of it. There's a website. There's my colleague Lucas, who is chairing the organizing committee. He was here. Okay. And so look at the website, and you can find details for the context. You can be a part of the program committee. You can help organizing it. You can organize your own events in this International World Conference. So there's many possibilities to be engaged. We are working together with you since last year. That's a great step forward for us. And so I'm very happy that we can continue this, and I hope also after our meeting today we will have next common events, and you all are welcome to join us at the next IPB Youth Student Conference at the end of the year 2017.
So we are also international, that's in our name, and that's also our power. So people from all over the world commit for people who are in prison, are in danger, and that's also the power, because millions of people write letters to the same person, government, responsibles, and that's the thing where Amnesty started. So you can also start there, writing letters to responsible persons, to governments. And in the local groups, we usually do education, human rights education, and that's basically the means of Amnesty. And I would love to see you at the stand later. So
for ISWI, it's a bit difficult to directly work here, because for organizing the conference, for organizing all the other events, you somehow have to be here in Ilmenau, at least for a certain time, like Benny. So it is possible. But there are also other organizations, like in the Source networks or in other countries. There are other conferences that are organized, and if you come from one of these countries, you can, for example, join these organizations, or you can also start your own conference, because in the beginning, ISWI is also just developed because we had another conference and 2 Ilmenau students went to Trondheim in Norway, and they visited that conference and took the idea to Ilmenau. So this was the starting point. So it's possible, if you like to do such a thing, you could also do that. You go back to your university and present the idea to the officials there, search for some people to support you, and then we as ISWI can also support you in the organizing stuff and help you a little bit in how to do such a conference. Of course, for every country it's always a bit different because the structures are different, but in general it's possible to do that thing. And on top of that, we are always open for projects. So if you would like to do a combination project somehow, have an idea, we are open to that. There were also like trilateral conferences with some other states in Europe. We had world music festivals where we invited people. So it's, if you have any idea for a cooperation project, we are also always open.
So, last but not least, me. We are quite local at the student council, but there are some countries that have legally formed student unions, so there's always the option to join them. And yeah, as Caro said, the structures are everywhere a little bit different. So there's nothing I can say about that, sadly.
In the end, I don't know if we have to tell you how to be committed or engaged, because I think many of you are also volunteers in organizations. So yeah, just see it as one opinion of us, and we would really like to exchange with you and to find out a little bit more also about the things that you're doing. And as I said, maybe we can do cooperations in the future.
It's I couldn't have done that better. So, so we have one last question that I'll ask in a few minutes, but we have a bit of time. Do we have then comments, stories, someone from the audience want to share questions for the people, what you just heard?
Thank you. Maybe a bit of a question to go. You said, if you want to get active, you have to look at your surroundings and look at what's going wrong, and then find people and do something about it. What about the people who find that there's chemtrails in the air and there's too many foreigners in the country, and who find information on the internet from people who write, oh no, it's all bad and the government is betraying you? Do you think that's a problem, or do you think there's a filter bubble problem? And how do we get to these people, maybe to give a humanistic world view?
Well, alternative facts are a problem. What we can do, especially here at the university, we have to present the facts clear and really show them how everything is. I know it's really hard to show people where the problems are, and that what they are thinking is maybe not fitting with the fact reality, but I don't think it's an option to just let them go around and think that without saying, hey, look here, we have these facts. Please at least think about these facts.
We are at a university. One of the biggest aims of the universities is to look for truth and to look for facts and discuss facts. Controversial, but facts. And I think we should really follow this old traditional line of searching for truth, reality, and facts when we are at the university. This does not mean that one of us has all the facts. Everyone has to be open to discuss the facts, to make a critical reflection and evaluation about the facts, but doing this in a style of argumentation and discussion, which is the background of university education and training since many years. And we really should fight to prevent this style as a background of our common work. I know that this in this time is not easy, but it is our challenge to do it, and we should start with a discussion between us that is in an atmosphere of solidarity on controversy. That is a good example for the discussions. And we really should should abolish everything which brings us on the same niveau like these not fact-finding, emotional discussion. This is not the style of a university, and we should be a little bit like showing that we can do it better. That is also for me a historical role of the universities. You know, Einstein, Linus Pauling, Marie Curie, all these famous scientists, which were scientists, humanist scientists, working and fighting for human rights and peace. And I think we should follow a little bit their line. And this is, let us discuss in the style of the tradition of the universities.
So I don't really have sufficient answer, I think, because it's a difficult question. I think even if we have the facts and if we present the facts, there are still groups which don't accept that and think that we are not searching for the truth. We are searching something else, and but I think we cannot do anything else than just doing research on our own and presenting the facts, repeating the facts, and always questioning also ourselves. And I want to give you an example. So Amnesty does research in a lot of countries, but if we don't have secure information, we don't work on a topic. And we just work on topics where we have very secure information, and so which is verified. And I think that's also important, just to support the credibility of the organization.
Yeah, I think my answer to that question would be that you cannot prevent these things from happening. They are happening. But the reaction to that should be to be a better example, to prove them wrong by acting, by your actions, to show them that things are different and that they could have a good life, what in the end is their aim, by behaving differently and by thinking differently. And this is always, you have to, of course, discuss with the people, but also actively show them that it's possible. This is, I think, my answer to that question.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the question. Anyone else would like to ask, comment at this point in time? So I have one last question then for you. I warned you about it. It's a trick question. What would be, if you could, wish for one thing to come true? Because we have a ferry also in the logo of this year's ISWI. What would be one thing you would wish for?
Total equality. Total equality.
The option to really study free, to pick my courses as I want and not have to pay for anything for studying.
global justice and peace, and personally that I always find a good community for common actions.
Yeah, of course, now I would have to say global justice because of the topic of ISWI. Yeah, that's one thing. Maybe it's the basics thing. But in general, right now, I would also agree to that. I would wish for peace, and especially in the countries where right now is war and where lots of people are coming right now as refugees, and that this world really grows together, that all the people here have the chance to live their life and be happy without any war, without to have their life as they wish, and without hurting anybody else by that.
Great. First of all, thank you all for coming by, for your time, and I hope if you ask all of you for a round of applause for 4 speakers that made it here today. So we touched on topics of why it is important, how you could get active. Today, it's also about, and this is the next stages of the program, it's about learning more about organizations that are there, some research, what organizations you could volunteer for. So we have all the booths outside where you can inform yourself. We have presentations of different NGOs that give a summary of what they do. They share some hands-on information, how you can get active with them specifically, or for their cause, also in your own country, in your own surroundings, in your own community. We have also some very, very cool trainers and speakers that will work on some hand-on skills workshops with you. They're also here in your program. Some of them are consecutive, so please be aware that you should attend both sessions, especially the one from Oren, who was here just a minute ago. How to get active in these workshops? There are lists outside at the info desk. Please go there, leave your name, and you get a little token so that they know how many people are there, because spaces are limited, because it's a very hands-on training. I want now thank also all the organizations that made this possible, all the people that came over to come here to represent the organizations, all of you to make your way here and represent your organizations and yourself, and why volunteering is important. And after 10 o'clock, there is the feedback lounge in the cafe area. So when you come inside, to the right-hand side, where there will be some snacks, some drinks, music, and just a very relaxed atmosphere to talk, to discuss, come up with new ideas. I mean, I know it from studying here that quite often you sit around in one of the student clubs or somewhere on a sofa and you're just like, wow, this is a cool idea. And someone sitting next to you, are like, oh yeah, I want to do this as well. So I think that would be an even best outcome today, if we have some new cool ideas for organizations and causes in the feedback lounge. But overall, please, I hope you enjoyed the session. I'm very sure you will also enjoy everything else here. And I wish you a great evening.